The Namibia Revenue Agency, or NamRA's tax amnesty program, is set to conclude on the 31st of October 2024. To give us more insight into what this means for taxpayers, we're joined via Zoom by NamRA's Chief of Strategic Communications, Yarukeekuro Ndorokaze. Very good morning to you, Ndorokaze, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Much obliged. Let's perhaps start off with the basics. Just quickly explain to us what the tax amnesty program is all about. I know some of our audience or viewers, some of us have heard it before, but just re-educate us once again.
Yes, thank you so much for the question, and once again for the opportunity. Some of your viewers would recall that during the budget address, the minister last year, that must have been around February, announced that there would be a tax amnesty, which was going to run for 18 months or so. Now, so this tax amnesty then started on the 1st of April 2023, and it is to run up to the end of October, the month that we've just started. Now, what it actually entails, it actually has just 4 steps. What it means is that you must register as an e-filer, and once you have done so, you must pay your capital debt, ensure that the capital is settled. And on the settlement of the capital debt, then the 100% of whatever would have accrued in penalties as well as interest would then be waived. And that's really the benefit that then accrues to taxpayers. So it's really targeting those taxpayers with outstanding tax debt, and is to ensure that at least their tax debt is relieved and they are up to date with regard to their tax obligations.
And as the deadline approaches, Stephen, who exactly is this program aimed at? And would you say that, from the start of the amnesty program, have people really taken advantage of it?
Yes, no, it is. And I'm answering to the last part of your question. Yes, a great number of people have actually taken full advantage of this program. It's just that where I am now, I'm not able to tell you what the latest figures are. But at the point where we were reporting, you would have seen that there was really great subscription to those to whom the program is intended to. And that now ties in with your first part of your question as to who is really expected to benefit from this. And it would be anybody, any taxpayer with a tax debt. Now, when we're talking about taxpayers, we're talking about individuals, but we're also talking about companies. Anybody who owes any amount, because you see, once you owe an amount in respect of tax, there are 2 things that haven't happened. If you have delayed in paying, that means that there would be penalties that will be accruing. But if there is an outstanding amount that remains unsettled for a while, that means that there will be interest that will then be accruing to this amount. And what the tax amnesty does is that in many respects, you would see that about 40 to 50% of the total tax debt is actually owed in penalties and interest. Now, once you are able to waive that, which is what the program is doing, it actually relieves the burden that is on taxpayers, and that's the benefit that is expected to accrue. And many people have actually taken advantage of this. As much as we might be happy with the number of those that have taken advantage of this, our record shows that there's a significant number of people who also owe in tax obligations, who we are calling upon to say that of the time that remains, please seize the opportunity.
Now, for those who are eligible, how can they ensure that they benefit from the amnesty program before the deadline?
Well, the good thing is that, and that is what we have been, the messaging that we have been putting out is to say, the expectation first is to ensure that you register as an e-filer. Now, once you have registered as an e-filer, that means you have now registered on our portal. So that means you can transact on our portal. So what you do is that you then make the payment. And once that payment has then been recorded, all you do is on the portal still, you would then select to participate in a tax amnesty. And once you have selected that, because the moment that the payment is done, there is nothing that is expected of you to do other than ensuring that the proof of payment is then provided. And once that is done, the system then records that and recognizes that payment has been done. And then you apply to participate in terms of the tax amnesty. And then again, the system then records that because it will be able to see that the capital debt, there is nothing owing in terms of the capital debt. And that amount has then been settled. And then automatically it then waives what would have otherwise been outstanding in terms of penalties and interest. And it's as simple as that.
Now, knowing Namibians, there are some that would say, well, we didn't know about this, was not enough information. Was there sufficient awareness created about the program? And do you feel that it has reached the intended client?
Well, I know that you're asking this question and you're asking it on behalf of the viewers, but I'm sure many of you are our witnesses who can attest to the fact that, in fact, we have done a number of interviews to this effect, and the intention was to ensure that there is great awareness that is created. There's popularization of the program that is out there, and we, on our part as the Namibia Revenue Agency, we feel we have done a great job in ensuring that the message is out there. But we're not leaving it to what we have done in the past. We can talk about what we intend to do of the time that remains. This interview is obviously a part of that, but there are also other platforms that we may be utilizing, newspapers, as well as all radio stations. We are seizing opportunities. We are procuring space on those platforms so that we can be able to transmit the message, because we know that the message needs to get to all corners of this country, and no one single platform is able to get there. So you are actually combining a number of platforms to ensure that the message gets there. And the intention is exactly that, so that at the end of it, nobody comes there on the 1st of November and tells us that they would have participated had they known that there was a program like this that was ongoing. So all systems out, all platforms are flooded with the information relating to the tax amnesty.
Wow, brilliant. What are some of perhaps the challenges that taxpayers might be facing when trying to meet the deadline? And perhaps maybe if we can talk about the more rural-based client. I know that NamRA has now an e-filing system, but then the reality is that there are those who don't have access to the internet, or let alone are even literate enough to work the system. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yes, and it's a good question that you're asking, because it speaks to the ease with which people would comply if they were to choose that they want to comply. But what is the ease that goes with it? And there are many options. The first one that we can proudly speak about, is that you are able to do that at the convenience of wherever you find yourselves through the ITAS portal. So that's one major convenience that comes with it. But you're also raising a very important point to say, but not everybody would necessarily be comfortable there, or even if they were comfortable, would have access due to other connectivity issues and so on. Now, we've got our offices across the country. Wherever you find our offices, there's always a service point that was able to assist you. So for anybody who would say, I would have dealt with this at my own disposal, but I can't, or the connectivity does not allow me, any of our offices, when you go there and you come with your documents, what they'll be able to do, if you have not registered as an e-filer, they'll be able to assist you to register. They'll also be able to assist you to upload your documents so that those are submitted in respect of the relevant tax years, and then you know what is it that is due. The next step then is to ensure that whatever is due, especially in capital as it relates to the tax amnesty, is then paid. And once that payment has been done, what then happens is that you need to select those options that takes you to participate in the program. And that's really it. So anybody can do that at their convenience if they so elect. But where there are challenges, whether with themselves or the connectivity and all of that, our offices across the country remain available to ensure that people are assisted. So we are not going to say anybody who is not tech savvy cannot participate in this. We're doing everything to ensure that anybody who wants to participate actually participate in it. As to what the challenges is, I think one of the major blockers, if you speak to taxpayers, is the payment. And what we are saying is that it's a choice between paying only what is due in capital now, for as long as the program runs, or having to pay all of that after the program, after the expiry of the program, having to pay capital debt, having to pay interest, and also having to pay penalties. So that's the message that we are really putting out. Other than that, we've really seen good participation in the program.
Absolutely. Unless there's something else that you'd like to add that we perhaps did not cover in our conversation, please feel free to do so. If not, then thank you for your time.
No. Definitely, I can only reiterate the call that we have been sending out to taxpayers to say there's still a window of opportunity. Of course, it's drawing by the day, but we still have the whole month of October. We wouldn't want for taxpayers to leave it up to the end of October, but really to make use of the opportunity now. We know that as an entity will be required to possibly deploy more resources as we draw towards the close of it, but we wouldn't want to get there. We want you taxpayers to ensure that they participate now. And like I say, what is participation? Is payment of what is due in capital tax. And once that has been recorded, then participation in the program. And you would then benefit from this. The message that the minister has sent last year and that he repeated this year was that this would not be repeated going forward. So if there was anybody saying, I'm looking for this program being extended, of course, the call remains within the minister. It's outside the Namibia Revenue Agency. But I wouldn't advise you to do so, given what the minister has already cautioned us regarding the duration of the program. So our call is to say there's still about 3 weeks to go. We want everybody to benefit from this so that at the end of it, anybody who would have wanted to gets an opportunity to participate. Other than that, I also want to thank you very much for the opportunity and have a blessed day ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Yarukeekuro Ndorokaze from NamRA, the Chief of Strategic Communications, talking about NamRA's Amnesty program, which started off last year in April 2023 and will conclude on the 31st of October, and also appealing to all taxpayers who are eligible for the program to please make time to take advantage of this opportunity to write off some of that debt.